actually perfect that the Skype died right then because I can tell you had just finished making your point. But one of the things I was talking about was, the fact that a lot of us, when you talk about celebrities that are considered to be successful people, and you talk about people that are successful within the context of white supremacy, one of the things that we tend to forget is that being successful within a system pretty much means that the system likes you, right? And the system likes you and the system accepts you and doesn't reject you because you are in alignment with what that system sees to be, value, of value, right? Your objectives are consistent with the objectives of that system. So if you are a black person who is successful within a white supremacist system, then in many cases, your so-called success, which is really just kind of this artificial labeling that makes us somehow gain this self-esteem that we don't have, from at birth, then that system is pretty much rewarding you for being a black white supremacist, So it's almost like many of us start off this quest for success, by completely having an incorrect definition of what success means in the first place, right? So as I was explaining a second ago, that if you're really successful, but you're successful with all the wrong shit, then everything you've worked for is pretty much worthless. Yeah. Can you talk about that for a second? I'd love to get your take on that.
Well, it's I think it's twofold. Not all of our people who are, working for, most of our people work for white people. Like, let's keep it real. Whether you're at a bank, whether you're at, a janitor, whether you're a teacher at a school, whether you work in a corporate, environment, whether you work at, in some labor type industry, most of our people work for white people. So it's not always that you are a black white supremacist. Sometimes you are just neutral to white supremacy because you're trying to survive. You know what I mean? And most of our people are really trying to survive in this world. I said, in my video, I said, you can't really even be about the revolution that we claim if you work for your oppressor. Now, people say, well, I don't work, my boss isn't, a slave driver. I have a great boss. You know what I mean? I have a good job. I love my job.
My masters are good to me.
Yeah. Well, but in their mind, because they are not really abreast with history and because they are not really aware of what's taking place, they don't understand that because they are so dependent on this system that it makes them it's an inability to be able to really go directly at the heart of the system of racism, white supremacy. Like you talked before, you were talking about, like the middle class black people who just said, if I go to school, do what I'm supposed to do, get a good job, go to college, get a good job, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm finding out everything was a lie. Well, yeah, if you as a divine human being, as a child of God, who has the ability to literally do anything. You have limitless possibilities. You can do anything that you literally set your mind to. And somebody from preschool all the way up to whether it's an associate's degree to a bachelor's degree to a PhD trains you to work for someone else, to work a 9-to-5 job, to sit in traffic for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. You have been brainwashed and manipulated and controlled into being a much lesser version of the potential that you have to be. If that's not blatantly, shocking to your system, then I don't know what else is. At some point, a light has to go off in our head where we'd be like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of living like this. I think the biggest thing that's handicapping most of our people, why we're so prone to drugs, why we're so prone to alcohol, why we're oversexed, why, brothers sit up and play video games and women spend all their time trying to buy, shoes and purses that they can't afford is unfulfilled potential. We're living vicariously through celebrities. This is why we hold them in such high regard, because we want what they have. We see black excellence and we don't know how to express it for ourselves. So we think that, Rihanna is like the end all be all when everybody has the potential to be Rihanna in their own right. I'm not an entertainer. I have no interest in being a singer or a dancer. That's not my thing. But I can express my talents and my greatness in that capacity, or even a much larger capacity if I choose to. That's why I'm on this video with you right now. That's why you're expressing your greatness through your economic prowess, through your knowledge that you've gained throughout your life, but you've built your own platform. You're not working for anybody else. And that's what really signifies the greatness. Like, we could talk about how intelligent we are. You know, we could talk about how many degrees we have, how much money we have, but are you self-sufficient?
Well, you know, I'll tell you what, I feel like with black folks, it's almost like we are economic and political children. And I say that because a child doesn't have the ability to be self-sufficient. A child is dependent upon other people. And many of us really believe that we can't survive without white people. You know, when I can tell you, I've heard many black people say, well, how are you going to build a business without getting white customers? How are you going to build your own without somehow getting help from white folks? And I'm like, well, I don't know too many white men who sit around saying, how am I going to build my business without the help of black people? You know, I can't survive without black people. But if you really think about it, educationally, we depend on white folks to educate our children because we somehow believe that we can't do it ourselves, which is nonsense. We politically, we look to white saviors in the Democratic Party to do what's necessary to fix our community when we could fix that ourselves. Economically, we feel that we have no choice but to go work for white folks. Or I will get violent resistance from black people, at least verbally violent, from black people who will literally get angry with me for saying, look, black people can survive economically without the help of white people. We can do it ourselves. And they'll say something like, well, Dr. Boyce, everybody ain't cut out to be an entrepreneur. Everybody can't do it. Da, da, da. I'm like, well, why are you focusing on the fact that some people can't do it? Why not focus on all the people who can do it? Really, or like when we created our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program for children, I explained to parents, look, maybe every child isn't going to become some great entrepreneur one day, but I guarantee you this, number one, if we train in this generation 50 to 100,000 black children to be builders, institution developers, owners, controllers of property, etc., and to care about their community, that's important as well. That first 50,000 can employ the next 50 million. So everybody, it's like a military. Everybody ain't got to join the army, but you've got to, if I say, look, we need an army to protect our village, don't sit and tell me about all the people who can't be in the military, who are too fat or too old or not smart enough or not strong enough. No, find the soldiers who can. Find me my 10,000 good men and good women, and et cetera, that can go out here and defend this village. Because I think that sometimes we get these, what I call them negative, negative Negro naysayers. That's it. Yeah, something like that. That's my little term, or Negro naysayers. But, these people that almost always, when you talk about the possibilities of what we can do by working together, what we can build on our own, they will push back really hard to tell you all the reasons why it won't work. And what I really believe, though, is very interesting is that it takes the same energy to figure out why something won't work as it does to figure out why it will, right? It takes the same amount of energy or an almost equivalent amount of energy to learn how to start a business as it does to learn how to kiss a white man's ass, right? I mean, really, like tap dancing through white supremacy is a fucking, excuse my French, it is a calculus equate. It's like playing chess and doing calculus at the same time. Seriously, most of us have spent those years tap dancing around white folks trying to figure out, well, maybe I shouldn't wear this and I should, cut off my beard. Maybe I need to talk this way and do this and do that and become friends with Bob and figure out what Bob likes to do so they'll invite me into their circle so I can rise to the corporate. That's hard. That's really hard. So my conclusion was very simple. The same energy that I will put into figuring out how to make them happy, I'm going to put that energy into learning how to be independent, right? Yeah. And that's it. And when I did that, when I said, okay, instead of putting, 7 or 8 hours a day into working for the white man and doing whatever he tells me to do, I'm going to take that 7 to 8 hours into working for myself, into learning how to be an entrepreneur. And I truly believe that if you have black children, if as a standard in our household, we make absolutely sure that every child knows the fundamentals of starting their own business as a backup plan, almost like knowing how to grow and cook your own food in case the restaurants and grocery stores are closed. You may not have to activate those capabilities. Maybe you will decide to go work for somebody else. But I find that there's a big difference between working for somebody because you want to versus working for somebody because you have to. It's all about options, right?
Oh, well, yeah, and like you hit on so many great points. First of all, people who say we can't survive without white customers, like, why wouldn't you be trying to attract white customers?
I agree.
Who said anything about having a strictly black? Like, I don't even conceive that. Like, I wrote a book about that I entitled Black Matters, but I welcome white people to purchase my book. You can buy it at www.zazaali.com. Like, I'm not around here like, I don't want white money. I don't want white people to support my business. No, that's foolish. Like, there's a political and social conversation, and then there's a business conversation. A lot of us don't know how to separate the business and the economic conversation so that we can become formidable in the economic world. You talked about educating the children. You talked about politics. You talked about economics. So look at the educational system. Look at how our children are being miseducated right now. Look at the prison to the school to prison pipeline right now. So we can check that off the list. The education of the white world for our children is absolutely not working. You talked about politics. We've had a black president for 8 years who can barely even whisper a word about black suffrage and about police brutality and about, police brutality is a very small aspect of the conversation we need to be having as far as the injustice our people are facing. Barack Obama has proven that even having a black man in the White House has not been effective for us. So now we have people talking about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Like, are you serious? If we understood the Electoral College, if we understood how politics work, if we understood how the government is set up with the 3 different branches of government, we would know that the president does not really have a lot of power to make a lot of change. And you see, the minute that you try to say or do one thing that may be directed towards black America, white people lose their minds. Not all white people, but enough white people. You talked about economics.
Let me jump in and ask you, since you're talking about Obama, I want your opinion on this. Did you notice Cornel West pointed out that when the president spoke about the killings of black men by the police, he had a more measured response, but he spoke about the injustice slightly, but it's sort of always sort of built on this honor and respect for the police, etc. But when he talked about Micah Johnson, the man who retaliated, he used terms like a vicious and despicable act, and he would not use the term vicious and despicable act when talking about police killing black men, but he would use that term vicious and despicable act to describe the black men retaliating against police for killing black men. Can you comment on that? I'd love to get your take.
I mean, Obama's reading a script. He's reading a script. I don't know how many times I've seen him not go off the script. He's reading a script. They're telling him what to say. And does he have internally, does he want to say and do more? We'll never know. We'll see what happens when he gets out of office. But like, at this point, we shouldn't even be, like, there's no reason to dissect, understand what he says and what he doesn't say anymore. Like, the writing's on the wall. He's controlled. He either is controlled, heavily controlled, or he doesn't care. Either way, it has the same outcome for us. It has been no benefit for us. There's been, some people say the healthcare law that he passed was a good thing. I know he's worked with, I think, the 100 Black Men, and he's just done some things as far as working with black boys, whether indirectly or directly. But like, in the bigger scheme of things, like what's happened to us in the past 8 years while he's been in office, and specifically under the guise of a black man, now it's like, well, you had your chance. You had your black president. So you could just imagine what it's going to be like when the next president comes in, which is absolutely going to be Hillary Clinton. She's already been selected. So Barack Obama is reading a script. The last thing I wanted to say about economics, like unemployment, like these people, like most of our people are working check to check. Who wants to live like that? Who wants to live? You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. The first of the month you pay your bills, and then the second the second, the 15th, you pay the rest of your bills, and you buy money, you pay for your children's things, and then you buy food and things like. Who wants to live where they never have money? That's not living. A lot of our people are working jobs and barely existing. That is not living. So I know that everybody's not cut out to be a business owner, but you can have a job and have a part-time business.
Absolutely.
You can have a job and go to school and develop a trade. You can teach children in the community and have a job. It's not just about that one aspect of, okay, you got to pay your bills, you got to take care of yourself. But it's so much broader than just working a job. Like, what is your soul work? What were you born to do? Were you born to work a job? Were you pay bills? You know what I mean? We need teachers, we need counselors, we need nurturers, we need help professionals. We need all of these different people. Okay, work your job, but what's your soul work? So there's some of us who are business inclined. I've been working for myself since I was 21 years old. Like, I can't even imagine punching a time clock at this point. Like, I'll never work for anybody else again. I'm saying that on the record. You can quote me on that. I'll never work for anybody else again. That's my thing. If that's not your thing, then you should at least be doing something where you're branching off and doing soul work that will benefit yourself as well as your people. Because if you just work for the white man and that's all you do, you're no benefit to your people.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the funny things about the political conversation when it comes to black unemployment, which is at a chronic level consistently, it's been like that for hundreds of years, is that the conversation starts off with the wrong premise. The whole idea is for these politicians, they're thinking, the ones who actually give a damn about black unemployment, most of them don't, they're thinking that the solution to the black unemployment problem is for us to get more jobs working for white people. And that's not the solution. That only puts you more deeply indebted to white supremacy. That's like me telling you that the answer to your financial problems is for you to borrow more money from me and at a very high interest rate. That's not going to help you. That's going to ease your temporary pain, but it's going to put you deeper in debt and make you an even greater slave to me, right? And so, I think that this whole marriage, this temptation for assimilation that we all kind of live with ends up putting us in situations where you have to educate yourself on all of this so you can figure out where you belong and how you need to think about solving these problems. Because I think for so many of us, I'm talking about people that went to Harvard. I'm talking about doctors that went to Harvard who think this way. And it really took some personal insight for me to really even understand, like, wait a minute, this is all a trap. This is all a hoax. This is ridiculous. And what you're talking about in terms of the freedom of working for yourself. It's funny. You can teach, you can teach a slave how to be free, but it's hard to convince a free person to become a slave again, right? Or even an animal, like an animal that is born in captivity can become comfortable in captivity because he doesn't know. He's born there. He thinks the zookeeper is his friend. He doesn't know there's much beyond the wall. He just kind of thinks this is the way things are supposed to be, and that we're all good, we're all equal. And it's funny because the zookeeper, sort of has an agenda from the very beginning. The zookeeper is looking at that lion like, okay, I raised you since you were a cub, but I know your potential. I know how scary it would be if you suddenly had the freedom to do what you want to do. And so while you're just thinking that we're friends because I'm feeding you every day, I'm bringing steak to your cage every day, I'm the only one who's thinking about where the walls are in this place, making sure that you're securely locked in, right? You have no idea really, maybe one day you think that we're equal. And so when you see the kids over there playing or you see me over there doing something, you want to come over to where I am. And then suddenly you realize, like, wait a minute, I'm in the cage. Wait, I thought we were cool. And I think that for us, for black people, many of us are born in captivity. We're trained from birth to be so deeply embedded in this system that oppresses us that we don't know we're in the cage. But they're like, look, okay, black man or black woman, when your child is born, we want to educate your babies because we need to control them from the jump. So we need you to be convinced that you can't educate your children on your own. Number two, we need you in our economic system. We're going to take care of you. Just come work for us. We're going, like the lion in the cage that gets fed the steak every day, we're going to feed you regularly as long as you behave, right? The lion has to behave in order to get his food, right? If he gets out of line, they're going to shoot his ass. And so for us, we really think these people are our friends when the whole time, just like the zookeeper, They're looking at the walls. They're like, okay, are the barriers up high enough? Are we sure to keep this lion locked up in the cage, right? Because if the lion gets out of the cage, then not only does he become very threatening and realizes his own power, he's not going back in the cage. He might go eat the motherfucker who had him locked up in the first place, and so it's a complete nightmare for everybody. So in many cases, in a way, I feel like, there's some of us who become the lions who got out of the cage. And so for me, as I became more aware of the horrible things that were done to us, in history that were never taught to us in school, the things that they're doing to us today, the things that they did to me to almost cause me to abort my potential at an early age, to literally kill myself, so to speak, spiritually and psychologically at an early age. I get angry about that, and I want to go eat the motherfucker who had me in the cage, and I'm not going back in the cage. I can't go back in, and I want to let all the other lions out so we can just take over the zoo, So that long drawn out analogy, we should probably move on to something else because we just talking about so much. But wait, before I forget, I want to make sure people know about your book. I'm going to mention it one more time. If you guys are listening, please go buy Zaza's book. I'm pleading with you. Take the time, go to ZazaAli.com, buy her book. It's called Black Matters, A Scientific Intervention into Our Affairs. This is something that would really mean a lot to us because, when you say this stuff about the white man, he ain't going to pay your bills no more. So support from the community really means a lot. Also, one of my books, I'm actually giving away the e-copies of the book right now. You can go to drboycewatkins.net and get a free copy of the book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. Go to drboycewatkins.net, not .com, .net. So Zaza, on you. Sorry about that.
Well, yes, and thank you for that, Boyce. I appreciate you. And you can also go to my website. There's a contact page. If you go to the contacts page, put your name and your email address and what city and state you're in so I can add you to my mailing list. I'm also going to be in Jacksonville, Florida this coming weekend on the 17th, Sunday, July 17th. You can go to my website and go to the events page and you can find the flyer there. Definitely want to. I'm doing a free event in the morning for girls age 13 to 17, the journey into womanhood. And then there's another event that evening. So go to my website and you can check that out. I just want to say, I always ask this, I don't even think we know what freedom is. I think we talk about it, we say it, in passing, and I don't think we really even can conceive what freedom is. What does it look like, brother, to wake up and decide what you're going to do with your day? If you're listening to me right now, and I know there's a lot of people that are watching, if you could pick and choose what you did with your day today, it's Sunday, Monday through Friday. If you could design your life, how would you design it? What would you do when you wake up in the morning? What would be the first thing you do? Would you have your own business? Would you go and work for somebody? Would you be in nature? Would you do yoga? Would you work? Would you do, martial arts? Would you go to the gym? Would you, work with children? Write out if you could just write the story, just take all of the bills and the, responsibilities. What would that look like? Most of us cannot even conceive what that would look like. So if you can't even visualize it, it's never going to happen. I know what my day would look like. I'd wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd meditate. I'd do some reading, some writing. I'd go to yoga. I'd go out and be in nature somewhere, do some hiking, be around flowers or some birds or some trees or whatever. I'd come back home. I'd do some more research, some more writing, maybe do an interview or two, put up a video. Just think in your mind what it would look like. And then for the business owners, there's this lady named Christine Kane. She's a white lady, but she's on her stuff. I study her videos. Her work as far as she's a business life coach, and she talks about writing out your ideal client. What would your ideal client look like as a business owner? If we start to conceive these things in our mind and actually start to write them out, we can manifest these things. That's why I always tell you, brother, the power of the mind is a really astounding thing. But if we can't visualize freedom, we'll never experience it. I'm not talking about all of black people, the black nation, 45 million. I'm talking about you. Freedom in your own life, in your own mind, in your own spirit, in your own heart.
I love it. But you know what? This is. I hope everybody's listening, and I guess we've had so much fun. We started this almost 2 hours ago, but I guess all great things must come to an end at some point. So
yeah. haven't eaten anything. I'm fasting. I haven't eaten anything since Thursday, so I'm running on fumes.
let's let Ms. Zaza go and get something in her stomach. So I want to say thank you, Zaza. It was wonderful getting a chance to talk to you again.
Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate you always for extending the platform, and much love to all of the listeners, the people who chimed in. And I heard there was a few haters chiming in, but we know we got to deal with y'all too. So it's good. You have your place. Just saying it.
Hey, you know what? You can't drown out the power of the sun, and your talent shines so brightly that even if the haters listen for a while, eventually they realize they can't keep hating. So it's all.
They always listen. That's what's so funny to me.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So everybody, take a cue from that. When you have people that are uncomfortable with your consciousness, your intelligence, your greatness, just let your light shine, and eventually those people may be able to see a little bit better because you're in the atmosphere. So sometimes you have to forgive them, for they know not what they do. So everybody, let's keep it moving, and don't forget, go to ZazaAli.com and go check out her book, Black Matters: A Scientific Intervention into Our Affairs. And also you can go and get a free copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar: A New Paradigm for Black America, by visiting drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. So take care, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Okay, so I'm gonna hang up, and I'm gonna literally hang up and call you right back. Okay, because I want to talk, but I want to make sure we shut this part down first. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So here was my quick thought. I think that your thing for